we get that going because I need to find out what's
Hi,
best for
Claire
this camera.
there. Hey, Claire, do you watch The Handmaids? I don't know if I've ever asked you that before.
No.
And I'm going to try to do what other people are doing and see if I can got my phone. Because apparently you can't like tag people in the chat through StreamYard. I don't know.
You have to use your phone to...
Yeah, that's weird. But what was that about? Were
The cheering?
Yeah, were they exonerated? Like, I don't understand.
I have a theory.
Okay. What is it?
My theory is, okay, so it really got the switch got flipped. She now not only has blind faith in Gilead, because before she had blind faith that Gilead was going to work. Now that she's pregnant because of Gilead, and
Right.
Fred was like, it's all because of Gilead. Now she has real faith in Gilead and in Fred. So that was her showing her, like her doing that. I'm on his side again. And these people believe because of Gilead, the pregnancy rate is going up. So now they're like, oh, well, maybe it's not that bad. Well, it's bad, guys. Y'all just don't know it yet.
That makes a lot of sense. I was completely lost when I watched that. I was like, wait a minute. I thought they were just even having a hearing and not the trial. And I don't understand.
It wasn't, if you remember, Maura said it's not a trial. It's like the first thing that starts with the trial. It's not. And then if you remember, she was like, I'll see you. And I'm not talking anymore. I'll talk about it at your trial.
Like, I'm done. I'm done now. I'm done. How did you feel about her testimony, about June's testimony?
I feel like it was the most G-rated testimony that she could have said.
Yeah.
I don't think, if I was in her position, I would have like dug some more stuff home. I would have like come out swinging a little bit harder.
Right.
That way, when it goes to trial, you have a better leg to stand on than a crooked leg. I mean, it's just...
I agree.
It was, especially because she was the one who directed it.
Right. I thought it was a little bit lackluster. Like,
it was like she put more effort into directing than in how her speech should have went. And I was a little disappointed.
I was too. Especially when I saw a little bit of chatter. I tried not to look online the day, or the night that it comes out, the morning, until I can watch it. But I saw something about her, testimony being super outstanding, and I had no reason to think otherwise because she's been so heroic every other time, even in her words. And I was just like, that's it. I mean, it wasn't bad. It
trying
just
to tag people.
June, you know what I mean?
Like, I was just like, for you to have so much rage in different parts of this episode, I mean, and bringing out the rage of others, you were very... When it was her turn to show rage to the right people, she didn't do it.
Right. I know. I felt like you have to... Yeah, you don't want to go off the walls, fly off the handle, and just be completely run by emotions when you're sitting there testifying. However, you've got to really, I think, show some of the emotion of what actually happened. And she did a little bit, but yeah, I just don't feel like it was...
The only reason why I can think why she dialed back on the emotional part of it was, I think, because Luke ended up showing up last minute.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is the only reason why I can think, because if Luke wouldn't have been there, if it would have been the same June we saw in Gilead, she would have had such a bigger fire lit under her. She wouldn't have been so timid at that stand.
True. And she wasn't ready to talk to him yet.
I don't think she really still is, but I think she's feeling like she has to, because she did, just like she always did in Gilead. She listened on the stairs. She was always behind corners listening.
Yeah, that was...
And so when she did that, when him and Maura were talking, and she was like, okay, got some issues here. I need to like at least give him a bone.
Right.
But really, if that's the case, you just lied to him not long ago about the last time you saw your daughter, or
Right.
and then you're going to come out with the truth being the first thing you come out with is the real last time you saw your daughter.
Yeah.
You should have dipped your toes a little bit more, to me.
Yeah. I agree and disagree, because I feel like, that was a lot to go back into, just coming from Gilead for all those years, to not having Hannah, to seeing Luke, to just kind of dealing with all those emotions and having to feel, I think, safe in order, and feel like he's safe still, to kind of let your walls down and tell him everything, because that's in a really emotionally exposed moment, I guess.
And see, when she was in Gilead, she pretty much, at one point to survive, she pretty much threw everything to the wind. She didn't care if she lived. She didn't care if she died. She didn't care if she got caught. She was going to do X, Y, and Z, try to get Hannah out. That was her goal. Well, now she's out, Hannah's not, and I think she's going to have that wall up. She's going to have some kind of wall up, because she had it up for so long to survive. I don't think she's truly going to let everybody in 100%. Just a normal mechanism for coping, really.
Right.
Especially because you keep seeing Fred, because she's going to see him again at the trial. She just saw him at this hearing. Every time she sees Fred,
trigger her back.
It's going to trigger her back.
Yeah.
And especially because if you looked in the previews for the next, who she sees next.
I haven't.
Okay, well then I'm not going to say anything.
I can't watch the previews because I feel like I'll figure it out.
I can't, but I don't understand why they showed what they showed. Like, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
And I'm a little upset because of something else they showed. Okay, well, they show, remember the young commander wife? That she pretty much took under her wing, her Hannah 2.0.
Yes. Did she double cross her? Because
no,
I don't trust her.
She's locked in the room at the Red Center, the same room where a pregnant handmaid was locked in with nothing but a mattress. Remember?
So are they going to make her a handmaid?
She's a handmaid.
Huh. Well, I still don't trust her.
I do.
I don't know why. I don't trust her. She was like, when she was making Janine eat Percy, was that Dr. or something? Darcy? Something.
Darcy, maybe.
Whatever.
Yeah, but the pig?
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, that's some messed up psychological stuff right there.
I think it's because when she first got there and she first was a commander's wife, he pretty much was forcing all this rape on her to try to get her pregnant, all these different people. So she had no control right off the bat. And now that she's been poisoning him and she's been able to take more and more control, she was trying to assert her dominance over these people so they couldn't walk over her again, because she didn't want people to walk over her again. And I think she was also trying to impress June because she looked up to June.
True.
But she did it in a very bad way. But you got to remember, she's naive. She's young. She has no experience.
Right. Yeah. It's probably the only life she's known.
I mean, it could be like a Gilead version of a temper tantrum as a teenager. I mean,
very true. That's a good point, honestly. Aaron was asking, I think, because I don't even know where people are watching them either, where you can see the previews for the next episode. Where do they show them?
I saw it on YouTube. I looked it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I can pull it up right now because it's literally in my history. Handmaid Tale, Season 4, Episode 9, Progress Trailer. It's 28 seconds long. Not much detail there. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try something. No one make fun of me because I don't know what I'm doing. So you found it on YouTube and it was...
Yeah, I'm about to pull it up because that one I was watching had different subtitles. I'm about to pull a better one. I live on YouTube a lot.
Yeah, been that way pretty much since the pandemic. And I met some cool people and some not so cool people. Okay, season 4, Handmaid's Tale progress.
Progress promo. It's called a promo. It's 30. There's one. It's 31 seconds. Looks like. Come on. Well.
Okay.
I tried.
All right. I tested this.
Ooh, I didn't watch this yet. An extended promo, and it's 4 minutes.
Let me see. Use your thinking cap. Where?
Oh, there's the comments. Hey.
These are all my people.
Hi, peoples. Okay. I'm still learning. I'm still learning where everything is because this is the first time I've gone.
Share screen. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make everyone proud. Or embarrass myself.
Are you trying to pull up the promo on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one right there, the top one.
Okay. Now, how do I play this? Oh, wait.
I need your help.
Can you see it?
I can see it. You may want to see if you can make it bigger, though.
Try to be grateful and move on. Gilead could come for our son. They think the baby belongs to the state.
There you go.
Could make me a handmaid. You need to stay alive so you can be here.
Oh.
When things get better.
I hate him. Oh, shush.
I need your help.
So, yeah, they don't give you enough information, I feel like. But at the same time, it's like, just here's the carrot, like, come back for next week. But I really think, like, next season, let's start, like, a petition now for them to do, like, 2 episodes a week.
Seriously, at least. Didn't they do that the first couple of seasons? Like
I think so. It was early.
Or the whole season. I don't necessarily want the whole season because I'll probably watch it all in one day, but that's just too much. But I would like more than 1 episode for sure.
Especially because if season 5 is going to be the last season, we really don't know yet. But if it is, they got a lot of ground to cover. And I'm not going to sit here and wait week to week to like beg to see what's going to happen next.
Especially when it's like more of the relationship dynamics. You know, that's not as, I don't want to say like you're not so tunnel vision where you're just, it's like you're in a new world. You're familiar with this world. You're familiar with the characters. And I do like how it's gotten even deeper into, you know, emotions and what happens after you've experienced trauma and you're out of it. But now how do you get through this? You're a different person. They're a different person. But yeah, I think it would.
Now I watched a clip on YouTube. I could try to go back and find it in my history, but it was from the director or the producer. Okay. And he said, I'm game to do this as long as Lizzie, he called her, is willing to do it. Yeah. And I'm like, at some point, like, we've had enough. Like, you can't stretch this out. And I don't even think Margaret Atwood would want to stretch it out that far. Now, granted, she's got her hand in the cookie jar. She's telling them how she wants things to go.
Yeah.
But he said, I'm not necessarily going to follow the testimony or whatever it's called, whatever the second book's called. He's like, I may or may not follow that to a T, which, I mean, we're not stupid. No one ever does when they go from a book to a TV show.
Right. But I think the biggest question is what's going to happen to Hannah. Like, I think you and somebody else were explaining to me how the book is with Hannah and that
he mentioned in that video, or somebody somewhere else mentioned, that she's going to become an aunt. They think she's going to become an aunt because she grew up in Gilead and she's groomed, and she might become an aunt. And if they do that, that's really a nice jab to June, because June's going to, no matter what, is never going to stop trying to find her or save her, no matter how old she gets.
Yes.
And to finally, I mean, it would be a shocker if she finally finds her and she's a aunt and she's training handmaids.
Yeah, that'll be a complete full circle in a bad way.
Yeah. Especially if Aunt Lydia took her under her wing.
Wow. Yes. Because that's a messed up. Well, yeah, Aunt Lydia is super messed up, but
especially now, because
you see more of her emotion, more of the emotional manipulation with Janine. And I just want to say, I was so freaking right. My friend Erin and my friend Suzanne had them on last week, and I was saying that, and I think I even told you when you and I were chatting that I think they were going to make Janine get captured and turn her back into a handmaid, because that was the only way we would still have
a handmaid,
strong character still in Gilead. And that's kind of why we all watch the shows, because of that whole story. So yeah, Erin brought up a good point. Wouldn't they make Hannah, only make Hannah an aunt if she couldn't have kids?
Yes, that is true.
I wonder how they figure that out. I'm sure they have somebody.
Well, if you remember when June was in the hospital because her walking partner went crazy in the market and got shot, and was basically an incubator for the baby, and she saw all those girls, and she found out as soon as they get their period, they go to the doctor, and they start going to the doctor to find out.
Yeah, I know there's so much that I forget. There's so many details. There's so many plot twists. There's so many.
So I think she's going to become an aunt if she can't have kids. But if she can have kids, I don't think they're going to make her a handmaid.
Yeah.
Because they don't want, for her to follow in line with her mom, even though they've brainwashed her from such a young age. They might give her to a commander.
That makes sense, because she won't be trying to object.
Right. She would have a husband who could control her, and handmaids are given to commanders who can't have kids. Like their wives and them, they've tried and they can't have kids.
Right.
It's not like right off the bat. They at least give them time to try a little bit.
True. I'm still wondering, okay, there's this whole theory that I mention all the time that either people completely agree or completely shut down. I don't know if you're part of any of like the Handmaid's Tale Facebook pages, but
no, I haven't. I don't get on Facebook that much anymore.
Yeah,
it's just I literally TikTok or YouTube. Like those are my things right
now. So the discussion is who really is the father of Serena Joy's baby.
That's on my list. I think it's Fred's.
You do?
And when I explain this, you'll go, okay, because Fred, when he was trying to have a kid with the handmaids, what was he doing? He was going to Jezebel's behind, all the time, hitting up them, and then he was hitting up the handmaid. Even though he wasn't having sex with Serena that much, he was still having sex so many other places, right?
True.
So then when he stopped having sex everywhere, and he was going to DC and he was going these different places, and he no longer had a handmaid and he wasn't having sex, and all of a sudden him and Serena had sex at that farmhouse, and then she winds up pregnant.
Did they?
Yeah. Remember he crawled in bed. They were in two separate like twin beds, and he like.
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
And then the next day they went to go meet to get Nicole back.
Yes.
And then they got arrested.
Was right before they got captured. Okay. Yes. I vaguely.
So I think because he wasn't shooting it for so long.
Right.
He had more swimmers. He wasn't wasting it.
So that would be a reason too why he wouldn't have been able to get June pregnant.
Right, because he was constantly going to Jezebel's.
Right.
Like Mora said, I've seen him in here all the time. That's how his first handmaid died. She hung herself because he was constantly taking her to Jezebel's, and he was constantly like, "Oh, I'm sweet. Come into my office. Come do this."
Right. No.
Yeah. So that's what I think.
So you think it's Fred? That seems to be what it is. That people either think it's definitely Fred, or it's, and I don't know what his real character name is because I've heard it thrown around. I've heard Mark, and then I've recently heard something different. I just refer to him as Canada guy, the whole liaison person that goes.
Oh yeah, the troubadour guy, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone who opposes says, no, there wasn't enough time, or the timeline doesn't fit, or whatever. I'm like, they don't show us everything that really happens there. So there's some little, hey, we're going off in the closet somewhere.
But way back in, I think, season 1 or season 2, there was talk where commander wives, before they got a hold of a handmaid, or when they got a hold of a handmaid, and because Serena said, I think the commander's the sterile one, because most of the commanders are.
Right.
They were finding other people. They had a list of other people who, like the doctor. Remember, the doctor said, I can take care of you real quick?
Yeah.
So there was like backwoods, like shady people that you could go that you knew was fertile. So could Serena have hit one of these people up behind Fred's back?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's a long shot. I would believe the Canada guy a lot easier.
They just had like a body chemistry, like when they came after they got captured, and when they were in different cells, which where on earth does a cell look like what they've been in? But Serena was like up against a window, and Canada guy came in and walked up, and I don't know, they just kind of, they weren't up on each other, but they were close enough where I'm like, you don't really walk up on somebody like that unless you've been in their personal space before.
Now, if you remember when they first met in the bar and he was like, you want a cigarette? She's like, I stopped smoking.
Yeah.
I think he's laying it on thick with the flirting with her because he thinks he can get more with sugar and honey.
Yeah.
But I think he started that way.
She does the same.
Right. She does anything to get her way. Let's just admit that.
Yeah.
But I think he started off that way. Like, let me flirt with her, see how far I can get, especially if she just lost her finger because of her husband and she's, kind of pissy at him. But I think it's starting to turn into a little bit more. Yeah. I think he's starting to get a little bit of feelings for her because you can see the way he looks at her sometimes. Like,
yeah. It's a little like endearing, I think. I think there's something else going on. And I was right about June saying that she wasn't going to go back with Moira at first. I mean, she did eventually go. And then I was right about Janine. So I feel like I'm Maury Povich right now. And I'm right about who the father is. So,
so what do you really think is going to happen to her baby, their son?
I think she's going to have him. I don't think she's going to. I think the pregnancy and birth is going to be successful. I do think he's going to get taken away from them for a time. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like something will. But I'm not sure. Do you have ideas?
I do. I'm hoping. I'm like 90% sure the baby's going to get taken away.
Yeah.
And
do you think it will be by Gilead or by?
I think it's going to be by Canada at first, and Gilead's going to fight because Gilead thinks it's their possession.
Right.
But I think Serena is not going to know the true feeling of what she put people through, handmaids through, until she gets hers taken away. The same thing that she did to June. You know, and I think that at that point, that's when she's going to flip.
Yeah.
On Fred, and
when the baby really taken away,
and then really just let everything out. You want to know all the secrets I know? Here's everything. I will scream and tell you everything I can to get my baby back.
I think so too. I think they're only out for their own agendas. Hey, Brett, Thank you for being here. I know you don't watch the show. One day you will, though.
One day.
One day you will.
I started a baby out, though. I have one friend. I started out on the first episode yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
We got halfway, and then my husband walked in the door, and he was like, "Blessed be this shit." Like, he hates The Handmaid's Tale because he can't stand the godly stuff, like Under His Eye, all that the whole time. He's like, there's only so many times. He said, I don't drink anymore, but I would turn this into a drinking game because I can't. It's literally every 2 seconds. He's like, I just can't. I'm going to my office. Like,
nice. I've tried to get my husband. Well, I will say he has actually watched. I know he definitely watched the 3rd episode with me in this most current season, because he shared the same sentiment that I think everyone did with right when they were at the train. Why in the heck didn't they just give Aunt Lydia a little zap and shut the doors and take the van? And
so many things went wrong. I'm sorry, but you have made it this far for this long, and you've killed a commander with a pin.
Right.
So why did you not tase her like she's tased you over and over and over again? Like, I was so aggravated. I was screaming at the TV.
Her, at least zap her a couple times, like little bug.
And then she went and yelled for the guard.
I know. I feel like they're way too smart for that, so I just don't.
First of all, the guard left I'm pretty sure the van was still running.
I believe so. It sure.
So if she would have tased Aunt Lydia, she could have gunned the van and still made the freaking train. Plenty of time to spare.
Yes, absolutely.
And had not go on foot everywhere.
Yeah. I know. That one was gut wrenching. And the part with Hannah not recognizing her mom. And then I think this whole experience since June has been back, like the whole June and Luke relationship, and I just feel heartbroken for Luke. I feel like I do understand why June just can't, hey, I'm back, let's get right back into things, you know what I mean?
Ever since June got back, though, the one person I feel the worst for is Moira. Moira has worked so hard to not only start her own life with a girlfriend, taking over helping Nicole and Luke, and starting this club where people could talk about their feelings. And then all of a sudden June is in her life for literally 2 seconds, and now the people can't come help. You know, she messed that up. She messed the girlfriend. Like, the girlfriend and her are done. You know, and now all of this work with the group.
Are they? Didn't they kind of have a little conversation there?
They're having a conversation, but I really don't think the girlfriend's going to trust her again. Because when it comes down to it, Moira has a fault, and she's always going to pick June.
Yeah.
Because not only that, but like she said, I got out and she didn't. And she was there for so long, and she went through all of this. It's my fault. Yes.
Like, Emily is the character's name? Rory?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rory / Emily.
Yeah, that's all I see when I see her.
When I see...
What did you think about her former aunt? I say aunt. I know I said I'm from the South, and I am, but I say aunt and I say fixin' too, because my mom is from New England and my dad's from the South, so I've got a mixture. It's hard for me to say aunt. Okay,
so at first I was really aggravated that June was like full throttle pushing for Emily to talk to her. But then after Moira and Emily sat there and talked about it, she's like, we could really, if she wants to ask for forgiveness, we really could use her for insider information to go against Fred. This would be great. And then the woman killed herself. Do we really feel bad that she hung herself? Not really.
No.
I don't, because...
I don't either. I felt glad that Emily said that. I mean, these people have done such horrible things. And I know a lot of people are in the same train of thought. Like, the most recent thing and we didn't even live through it. Perhaps our grandparents did, or great grandparents, but the Holocaust, that's all I keep thinking of, is just all the horrific stories that I've heard people tell and my grandfather tell. I just, yeah.
See, my thing is, the reason why I think Emily had so much, you got to remember, like, why Emily was so upset about it was because she was the one that turned her in. She was the one that got her girlfriend, who was
Right.
Martha, hung right in front of her, and then she got mutilated because of it.
I know.
And she's never going to have the same life, even though they said they're going to try to do reconstruction. It's never going to be the same.
No.
Not only physically, but mentally. I mean, that really does a number up in your head.
Yeah.
So I have no harp on her being aggravated. And I'm really kind of glad that Emily pulled up and saw her before the emergency people could take her down. Because I really do think that's the closure she needed.
I do too. Because I think she also felt a little bit pressured, even by Moira. I have such a hard time saying her name, but to even like go talk to her. Like I think she wanted to do a little bit of what June was suggesting or demanding, and what Moira was suggesting. Like there was a little bit of both in her, like forgiveness, understanding, rage, not understanding. I think she just didn't know quite what she wanted. And I also think at times Emily is a bigger ticking time bomb than June is. Because, I mean, we've seen it. That girl just snaps and gets in a car and runs over people. I mean, to me, rightfully so. But hers is just like this unstable quietness, you know?
Exactly. That's the ones you have to watch out for the most, because the ones who hold it in are quiet and can keep that straight face like she did. I mean, she just literally kept her head down and just kept going until somebody just hit that right button and she explodes. That's gonna be something. It's gonna take the rest of her life to get through, and I don't see her having the same relationship with her wife and son. I think she's gonna fight really hard, but I think at some point she's gonna step away from that because she feels guilty and can't go back to that, because she really is that ticking time bomb now, and she doesn't want to take it out
They're
on
all
them.
different people, and that's even though they fought so hard to get back to their lives and get out of such a horrific situation, when you go through something like that for so long, well, for instance, World War II, my grandfather, everyone says after that he was a completely different person. Now for him, it happened to be better. I think he was a little kinder, a little less stressed out, but you're just a different person. And there are always situations where you go through an experience that no matter how close you are with somebody else, the only other person who can understand what you've gone through is someone who has
Actually
gone
was
through
there,
it. And you almost don't want to relate to someone else or try to have
that's why, if you've ever noticed, the only people Emily ever listened to are Moira or June.
Yeah, it's true.
And Emily, I don't even think Emily was in the Red Center at the same time as they were.
No, I don't think so.
So you have, that really shows the bond that Handmaid, but they do get drilled in Handmaids in the Red Center, you know, 2 by 2. You always have a partner from now on.
Right.
Just like you saw June walking down the road, and then Janine was like, you know, I'm your walking partner.
Right.
So it gives them some kind of grounding, some kind of connection. But at the same time, like,
yeah, that's true.
I'm worried that Emily is going to be away from June and away from Moira.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, she could probably be at her wife's house, but she's going to be fine. And then she's going to have a trigger, a nightmare, something.
I think she's going to go after some people just in Canada in broad daylight, just like hell no. See the signs and the cheers for people or whatever. I could totally see her just like, nope, nope.
So how do you think each of the characters would react if they would have seen that crowd? Like, we've seen Moira in the past protest and get arrested. Emily got arrested too, because that was back right when Emily got into Canada. She went with Moira to protest about June or something like that, and they got arrested for a little while. Remember, they were in holding. So,
gosh, why is it like, it feels like that was so long ago, but yet not. I mean, we did miss a whole dang year because of 2020, but yeah, now that you mention that, I vaguely kind of remember that.
And see, the producers were saying that because of COVID, a lot of their story had to change, which you heard that in so many different TV shows. But at least in The Handmaid's Tale,
right,
you can kind of not notice that it went filming through a pandemic.
Yes.
But the weirdest part is when they were in DC and the handmaids were wearing that mask, that was before COVID.
I know. Isn't that weird?
That was weird because that was before COVID, because that would have been a perfect time to have used it.
Right.
During COVID.
Well, but it was, I did not for that, but I dressed up as a handmaid for Halloween, and I'm like, we have to wear masks. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I wore my red mask.
But I mean, like, and all of it is shot and produced in Canada. Like, everything's they're already in Canada. So they're not, they're not flipping back and forth from the US to Canada.
Letting my cat in.
So that helps with, I guess, production with COVID and the rules and all that.
Yeah, because I think they took it more seriously or stricter, however you want to see it, than we did.
Yeah, I think they're still having problems up there with like necessities.
Are they? Wow.
Like in the Walmart or the stores like Walmart, whatever they have.
Right. Like toilet paper and...
Yeah, well, no, they have things blocked off. Like, clothes are not a necessity. You can only go shopping for necessities.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of people on TikTok from Canada were still doing hoopla. Like, my kid is growing out their shoes and I can't go buy shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like a month ago. So I don't know.
I can still be so freaking selfish and have my blinders on in America. I think there's a couple people online that are kind of in the little community that we're in, that I believe Australia and I think also New Zealand, like some places like that don't have vaccines yet. Whether or not you choose to get one or not, here they're available. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize there were still places where they're not even available. I guess around here we've kind of, at least in the Southeast, have gotten pretty much back to normal. So.
You got to think we're so close in comparison to the rest of the United States. We're so close to DC, the capital. So a lot of stuff gets spread out here before it goes west.
Yeah, that's true.
Except if things originate in like California, because California is a big place that they're like doing their own thing and it will trickle this way, but
more like entertainment, fashion, pop culture, that sort of thing.
And I think the head of the CDC is in DC too, so that might be another reason why.
Yeah, that would make sense. There's so many things to the kind of parallels and similarities to real life. I didn't realize, because I can't remember if there was anything about this on the show, but our friend Suzanne was mentioning that at least in the book, they stormed the capital of Gilead or headquarters or whatever. Do you remember that happening on the show?
Storming Gilead, no. But
she was talking about when the handmaids like bombed the that one handmaid like walked in, kind of gave like
That was the new Red Center, and took out a bunch of
Okay.
commanders and took out a bunch of handmaids too, because all the ones on the top on the second row pretty much died. There was all those handmaids on the top, and then there was handmaids on the bottom in the back. And
Yeah.
the ones in the bottom saw her running, and they were like, "Ooh," and they took off. But the ones in the top, they had no clue, and they had no time to get away. That's why Aunt Lydia was making such a big deal about those handmaids. That's why they were going to that like camp type deal. You know, we can't get rid of you, but we can't trust you with commanders anymore. So that's why they were pretty much taking them to a place where they could be incubators.
Right.
And it's because, and that might be why they're making that commander's wife or ex-commander's wife a handmaid.
Yeah.
Like, why would she be a handmaid if she had sex with all those people and never got pregnant? That's what I'm confused about. Unless she ended up getting pregnant.
And I wonder who it would have been. I mean, it could be anybody. It sounds like a whole bunch of guys had their turn with her, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that may be where Suzanne was kind of comparing from the book to what happened recently in our country, storming the Capitol. That there's been some eerie parallels. It's my daughter's cat. It's Cutie Pie.
Hi, Kiki.
So, I think I've even seen on TikTok, like some hashtag, like handmaids in real life, like handmaids IRL. Like I've seen this episode before talking about, this looks a lot like the TV show, what we're experiencing, mostly last year. But I just find it interesting that not only Margaret Atwood said she only put things in the book that have happened in real life, things that we've done.
Right. Totally.
And it's still almost repeating itself in a way. I don't know.
So I don't know if you were familiar with how things went in Germany in World War II. Not the military side, but they had actual, I wouldn't say camps, because the concentration camps were for where we know what they were for. But they had like schools and hospitals where German-born women who looked German, who had no historical ties to the Jewish bloodline,
Gotcha.
who were fertile, were put in these places just so they could match up with German men and have German babies to populate the German.
I did not know that. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but no, I did not know that.
I took 6 years of German.
Yeah.
Don't remember much because I dropped that to do sign language. I can still do enough to where when my husband plays a video game that has German talking in it, I can kind of tell him what's going on. But I learned that in my Holocaust class that I took in high school. Wow. They were like, while they were doing the camps over here, they were like, "Oh, look at the school where we can train you to be proper Germans on how we want you to be," and pretty much brainwash you into the Nazi Party is awesome. Don't look over here. We're not doing this. Look over here. Let's make the better race.
Right. Cat jumped in a box. I thought he was getting on the blinds there for a second. We're about to have cat no more. But and there's some symbolism too. I don't know if it was in the book, because again, I haven't read it, so I don't know, or in the books, but at least on the show, I have read that there is kind of, I hate to say like a nod to World War II. I don't know what other term to use, but like the paintings that they have and all of the commanders' houses and everything, that's a true reflection of the Nazis going and raiding.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah.
Because was it Fred or was it Commander, what was his name? The Lawrence.
Yes.
One of them one of the commanders made a comment about I think it was Lawrence, like, look at all this fine art that I got from the museum. And if you look, there's a lot of, I think it's Monet.
Yeah, I think so.
In Serena's area. And then Fred had a lot of darker paintings. And then Commander Lawrence had like a hodgepodge of everything that could have been construed as kind of contraband. I mean, he was really big on, he had a lot of contraband at his place.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the birth control. He had countless things that you could kind of see when they were down in the cellar, like things that were like stacked up that you.
Do you think that was just to be able to assure himself he was like untouchable? Like, I have this control, I can have these things, and I'm not in trouble. And
I think he started off really believing in Gilead. This is what I would do, because they said he had a lot of knowledge on certain things. So I think he started off like, yeah, great, I'll help you. And then after a couple of years, he saw what it became. And then he saw how his wife was taking it. I mean, his wife did not handle it well, especially when they took her medicine away. Right. Yeah. I mean, she was technically not bipolar, maybe bipolar. She had some mental issues.
Man, why you're making me remember everything. Like, I feel like I know the show, and I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm a nerd. I grew up watching Doctor Who, and I've learned you have to remember all the pieces all the time.
Again, I'm a nerd in another way. I literally just made a video of using a filter as Benjamin Franklin and reading the second letter of the Silenced You Good letter. So, yeah, I feel you.
I'm not going to do that on my computer. I'm going to use one of my husband's 2 computer screens here. Hold on. I got to get this because I'm about to look up something that you brought up, and it's making me curious. But I think Lawrence, once he realized, like, oh, this isn't how I wanted it to be, I think that's when he started like, oh, y'all need to get rid of this. Let me take it. Let me take it off your hands. I'll get rid of it for you. And was trying to hold on to a little bit of the old world just in case. Not only to ground him, but to ground his wife.
Yeah. The wife part, I can see that a lot more. That was so sad to see her just completely.
We're going to use my phone because I can't.
Not able to accept reality around her.
And I feel bad for her, because if it wasn't for June moving into that house, she'd have still been alive.
Yeah.
But if she wouldn't have died, all those kids wouldn't have got out.
Yeah.
The only way Lawrence helped was because.
I know, it's like a huge philosophy course, like, does one person deserve to die to save this many, or all those kids
and how many times has June pretty much brought that up?
Yeah.
June has pretty much said that. Like for example, on the boat on the way back to Canada, turn me in. My life is not more important than the good work you're doing or all of the lives of the people in this boat. But it's sad that you have to get to that point in your life to where you don't see yourself as a person anymore.
Do you think it's that she doesn't see herself as a person, or she doesn't want to be like them? She doesn't want to be so selfish and greedy for life and her life that it comes at the cost of other people.
But she has been selfish and greedy in the cost of other people, because when it's come to Hannah.
That is true.
Or when it came to Nicole, she did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you're right. She did.
I really think she just doesn't see herself as a true human. I don't think she feels like she deserves to be considered a true human being, because she's done so many things that are not humanly. But you have to understand, this is basically war. I mean, Gilead is not established all the way yet. I mean, there's still places like Chicago. Right. I mean, and I think they kind of hit on it in that episode where they pretty much just took Chicago because of the bombings, because they said they came in and saved you.
Right. with Janine. Yeah. And
with Janine. But I mean, you're basically in a war zone, and you have to do what you have to do to
absolutely.
survive.
Absolutely.
And the Marthas are acting like the Underground Railroad, not just World War II style about moving Jews, but back in America when we had the Underground Railroad and we were traveling people up, south to
Right.
north.
I'm just trying to understand, how are they're not saving people? Like the ants are like.
No, the Marthas.
Oh, Martha's.
The Marthas have the
Oh, I got
network,
confused.
have a
Yes.
network.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. That's what threw me off. I thought you said the ants. I'm like,
I might have. Oops, my bad. But the Marthas, like, they're the ones, like, June saw, oh, these Marthas got this much power and they can do this. Let me use this to my advantage.
Yeah.
We're going to get these kids out, which, granted, I'm glad she got the kids out.
Absolutely.
But she should have stuck to a certain age and, like, under, because these older kids are having problems adjusting in Canada because all they knew was Gilead.
Right. I know it was hard to watch the scene with the little boy and staying with, I don't want to even say like his new mom or whatever, but his new home.
She was a relative. I can't remember. I think aunt.
Yeah, possibly. But just the parent figure, just trying to make him be comfortable with everyday life, and just seeing that mental disconnect, like she doesn't get it. And that was so gut-wrenching. And then it was gut-wrenching to notice that he was going through that. But I think they had the perfect person come in to help him through that, which was Rita, because Rita kind of still is like that a little bit. I mean, even not around the boys.
She still has Gilead in her.
She does.
Because if you notice,
or
right, she still does and I don't know if that's more so out of habit or if she actually kind of is in that world now a little bit still.
Or maybe it's comforting.
Maybe it is comforting.
Weird way, because it's just normal everyday life for a little while there.
Right. The thing is, like, I think Rita would really step into her own if she was able to, like, spearhead a campaign where she can, like, have like a kind of like a church camp type deal. Let these kids come in and like these older kids, and slowly introduce them into the world.
Acclimate them for sure.
Exactly. And she would be the best person to do it, because not only because she can control, like, the food, like she did with that one boy, like, let me remind you of Gilead, but she also has the patience.
I believe so too.
Because it takes a lot of patience to deprogram a kid.
Yeah, very even keeled, even when she was at Gilead, she was led by her emotions, I mean, she had emotions for sure, but she wasn't led by them. She just kind of sat, watched, observed, collected herself, calculated.
Yeah, but if you've noticed with the kids, she's very more, she lets her guard down. She lets her guard down more with children than she does with adults.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. Well,
because the innocent factor. Kids haven't hit you. Kids haven't forced you to.
True. And she hasn't had the same experience that even the handmaids have had.
Or other Marthas. I mean, she was pretty sheltered. And Fred and Serena were better to her than most other people.
Yeah.
Most other people to other Marthas.
Did you touch that when Fred, like, said that to her? Like, we treated you so well. Oh, that just got me, because I've heard so many people argue the fact of, like, slavery in America. Like, no, some people treated their slaves well. And maybe they did in the way that maybe some of them didn't beat them, but you still owned humans and they weren't free. What don't you get about that?
Right.
So that line, I feel like that was very intentional to put that.
See, Fred is
a psychopath.
He is a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, like, if you've ever been with somebody who's abusive
Right.
or controlling, they have a way of saying things and
Yeah.
spinning them in a light to where they shine and it's all you that's wrong. And Fred is very good. Like, whoever writes his wording, like his dialect and everything is
Right.
really good, because he can say something and you feel better. You feel
Right.
like, okay, yeah, you're awesome. Like, you're good. You're right. You did treat me good.
Right.
You did get me out of the house. Oh, you did let me play Scrabble. Like,
Yeah, does super mind games. Even I think that was the good part of the whole, as far as acting and writing, the good part of the testimony with June is that I think Fred's part was more moving, although it was on the sinister negative side than June's was. It was more like gotcha.
he had more passion in his words than she did.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're trying, because
Yeah.
he did. Like, he stood up. I mean, his voice was clear and direct and loud, and hers was kind of timid.
Yeah.
Now, it could have been, she went so long, she's not allowed to read, she's not allowed to write. That could have been
June.
But it's June. I mean, we've seen June flip her switch
Right.
at the drop of a hat, just like Emily has. And we've seen June do what she has to do to survive.
Yeah.
So why didn't she take this moment? And I think it really comes down to Luke was in the room.
Yeah.
I think it made her nervous because
that makes a lot of sense.
She doesn't want Luke to see that side of her that she had to have to survive.
Right.
I really think she's embarrassed about that. She feels like he would look at her different.
Embarrassed. And do you think also, again, this is someone who I know intimately, and I'm not even talking about physically, just emotionally, mentally. And I have not, even with Nick, she's never been able to be her true self, guard down everything with him just because of the environment that they were in. So it's almost like an emotional...
she was. She really did let her guard down in the newspaper plant.
Yeah.
She did let her guard down a little bit with him there. Not much, but she did show more of herself there. Back when she was first
right, but it wasn't like complete and in a safe environment like it was before Gilead existed. So meaning that I don't think anyone would feel completely safe enough to do that in their psyche yet. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to cut off your emotions in situations where you're in survival mode. So it's kind of like a conflict of emotions too. With, like, I think you're completely right with the embarrassment. I don't want him to see the side of me. I think there's also this layer of, you can't be in the room right now because I can't.
Because remember, she didn't want Luke or Moira there. And Moira lived through it.
Yeah.
And for her to not want Moira there, I don't think she wanted Moira to even know what all she did to survive.
I also don't think she wants her to persuade her to be nice. Because I think Moira's trying to, like, you know, not like let's forgive or whatever, but like, okay, we're pissed off. We got it. Let's move on. And June's not ready to let go of her anger. She's not ready to just, okay, we got out of that, but let's not hold anybody accountable. I think Moira is more at the point where she's ready to get on with life.
Right. And yes, Moira killed somebody to get out.
Right.
If you remember correctly, she did kill somebody.
Yeah.
But Moira was not in the Red Center the whole time that June was.
True.
She did not get a posting. She did not even get an ear tag.
No.
If you remember correctly, she didn't get an ear tag. She got out pretty early in comparison.
True.
So maybe June feels like she's more innocent, and that's why she's able to, let's move on. Let's just push it past and be nice and let's heal and let's move on.
Yeah.
And June and Emily, who've been there longer, they're like, no, we had these feelings that we had bottled up that we couldn't let go of, and we're angry.
Absolutely. Because she was, even though she was in a disturbing environment as well, she had more freedom to, wrong word, freedom, but you could
Freedom Gilead?
speak out. You know what I mean? Like in Jezebel's, you could, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but it wasn't like shut your mouth, sit there, or get beat. Like you were there to use your physical appearance and body and socialize. And yeah, there was all the other stuff that happened too, but not like it was better where she was. Of course it wasn't. It was just different.
Because as a Jezebel, she she was still controlled by an aunt. Yeah, she was still told what to do, when to do it. Yeah,
Right.
she technically was a prostitute, but she had more freedom. She could drink. She could do drugs if she wanted to. She could smoke. She could do whatever.
Yeah.
Because they really didn't care about that.
Right.
And that's why, if you remember correctly, Moira was like a lot of people. It was either Jezebel's or the colonies. And at least with Jezebel's, until I'm used up, I can drown it out, basically. I can drink, I can do drugs, I can do whatever I want. And live, live somewhat. And maybe it's also because you had a choice, either Jezebel or the colonies, you had a choice on your life besides being forced. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a control back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they had no choice. It was, you're a handmaid, and that's it.
And like, I felt more upset about Emily becoming a handmaid than June becoming a handmaid. June was trying to run away. She had her daughter taken from her. Yeah, that was petrifying, traumatic. I understand. Right. But Emily was so close. Emily was at the airport with her wife and her son and had to watch them go up the escalator and know I may never see them again and have to keep a straight face.
Like, I think everything's okay, but it doesn't feel okay. And
right, but you have to keep a straight face, a happy face, because your kid is watching you going up this escalator. You know, yeah, it's harder with June because June, was stripped with Hannah out of her arms, but for Emily, maybe that's where her composure of keeping a straight face started.
Could be, yeah.
Just I feel worse for Emily because she was right there. She saw the light at the end of the tunnel. She had the ticket in hand.
Absolutely. And they were like, nope.
Can't. Like, oh, you were the one that gave birth to him? Oh, really? Oh, you have a wedding certificate? No, you don't. We don't recognize that.
Right.
Like, and it just, each time the guy opened his mouth, that was just, I would have been losing it more and more, but she kept her composure better than other people would have in that situation.
Yeah, knowing what she was walking into. Yeah, I would have started freaking out and screaming and trying to jump over the rails, and nope. Yeah. You're not taking me. I'm going to my family. I mentioned before too that if I were like the main character, it would have been a very short story because I would have ran my mouth kind of like Janine did in the very beginning of things, and that would have been the end of the book. So I would have been dead. So I don't think I could have kept my mouth shut. But
But at the same time, there's that light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, if you're married and it's your first marriage and it's recognized, you can go and you can live in these apartments, basically. Remember the family that she stayed with in the underground?
Yes.
You could do this if you follow the rules and you go to church and you do this, and this. You could live a normal life with your husband and family. But if you are promiscuous or you don't have the right life, like June I don't think June actually got married to Luke because her mom didn't want her to. Or
she didn't take his last name.
Or she didn't take his last name or something like that.
Yeah.
It was something about their marriage that was
Yeah,
considered taboo,
I
and
know.
so it wasn't recognized, and that's why they were on the run.
And because too that A, she was married before, and then B, their relationship started from
And
being an
unfair.
adulterer. Yeah.
So
So
I would be a handmaid. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'd be a handmaid,
yeah.
and I don't know. I would try to keep my mouth shut, but at the same time, and that's A, is a lot of rules to follow. B, you can't take people. It's one thing if you take kids and you brainwash them at a young age, but you
Right.
can't expect every adult that you
No.
bring into this new nation you're building to fall in line.
I mean, well, yeah, basically they haven't. Anybody that they've had be a handmaid that was captured as an adult has escaped in some way, whether it be unfortunately by suicide or by just completely losing their minds or by being a pawn and trying to manipulate June. So, they pushed them off the building or whatever. Like they haven't been successful in controlling them.
So we've talked about Emily, we've talked about June. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Janine. Because I'm a little confused about Janine's psyche.
Okay.
Okay, so we've learned before in the first couple seasons, she had the daughter with that one commander, whatever the daughter's name was. I
Yes,
can't
yes,
remember
yes,
off the top of my
yes.
head.
I don't. Agnes? I don't.
No, Agnes is Hannah.
Okay, never mind. Nope, don't know.
But she had that daughter, and then
Yeah.
she went crazy.
Yes.
She was so concerned because the commander was like, I'm gonna leave my wife for you. First of all, no one's gonna do that in Gilead.
Right.
But two, she was so concerned about her daughter. She was so concerned about getting her daughter back
Yes.
and being with her daughter.
Right. When she went on the
But
bridge
now that we've learned more about Janine's history, she has a son. He's
right.
dead. He was in that car accident. Remember, June found it out in Lawrence's cellar. Remember, she found all the paperwork. Commander Lawrence's wife.
I must have missed that part.
Commander Lawrence's wife, before she committed suicide,
I thought he was
had
like
taken.
at the beach somewhere, or maybe.
No, she said that to Janine. She told Janine he went to California and he's on the beach because she read on the paperwork. If you read it, it said died in car accident.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. Wow, I can't believe I missed that.
And so that's why June told him he's in California.
Right.
But then she was pregnant again while her son was little, and she wanted to get rid of it.
Right.
So how could she go from understanding I don't have the time or money or, mental capacity to raise a kid, I'm going to get rid of it, to be able to separate yourself from that, but then go crazy about a new daughter in Gilead? Like, what made her snap?
Happiness and not being able to have a grasp on what reality is, grasping onto whatever sanity, because if you don't have something to focus on, then you're like, holy crap, this is all real. This is all really happening. Because didn't like her first complete 180 come whenever she did say something sassy at the Red Center and then they took her eye out?
It was right off the bat. It was episode 1. It was literally right when she got to the Red Center. She snapped. They took her out. June was like watching. They're like eyes front.
Yeah.
And then when she came back later that night, they put her in bed and she had the bandage over her eye. And June looked at Moira and was like, what happened? If my right eye offends thee, pluck it out.
Right.
You don't need to see to reproduce. You're just livestock.
Right. And I think I remember that's when her character completely changed and she went more like inner childlike. And then I think ever since then, whenever anything traumatic happens, it happens all the time there, but more to her when something is about to happen, especially like her losing somebody important to her in her life in Gilead, that's kind of when she kind of freaks out a little bit. And you can tell she's trying to each time just, I think the fantasy of having the baby is still an escape from reality. Like, no, we can have this perfect life. Like, she knows it's not true and not real. But if I sit here and have to really accept reality, like, I'm not going to be able to, and I'm really going to lose my mind.
Angela Putman. Angela Putman was the daughter's name. It was bugging me. I had to look it up.
Her that she had with the commander.
Mm-hmm. Angela Putman, because then he ended up losing this part, or maybe further down. I think it was just this part, the hand, because of they found out the illicit acts he had done with Janine.
Yes, I remember that. Oh my God, you make me remember so much.
Sorry if I'm like making your mind go.
It's just tying everything back for me. Again, in just one episode, you're like, it's like I know and I remember, but I don't remember everything.
But if you remember when it was just June and Janine in Chicago, Janine had pretty much stepped up. She was her own person again.
Yeah.
She was the one that hooked up with the guy so they could stay and get clothes and get food.
Yeah. I thought that was cool. Like,
she was the one. She was like her old self type deal.
Yeah.
But then anytime Aunt Lydia's around, Aunt Lydia knows exactly what to say to put her back.
Right.
Most times. Now June has been able to get through to her
a little
over Aunt Lydia. Look at the bridge scene with Angela.
Yeah. And even oh my gosh, it just slipped my mind. When June realized, when she was like in the box and everything, before she in the whole torture area, before she saw Hannah, and she had that realization with Aunt Lydia that hey, June, she was quick to turn on you, and that was Aunt Lydia's weakness. I think because June realized that with Aunt Lydia, then she was almost able to manipulate Janine a little bit more, that she doesn't have that power over you, because I know you don't have that power over her. So therefore, if I'm making Aunt Lydia realize that, she actually doesn't have that power over you. I know that sounds really confusing, but hopefully that makes sense.
I followed it. The thing I'm worried about now is Janine is stuck in Gilead. No June, no Brianna, no Alma.
Yeah.
Just Aunt Lydia.
Mm-hmm. I know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I know she sat there and begged for her to take her life.
She would rather die than be a handmaid. Right. Now, Janine is at the point June was. Because June, there was times where June was willing to sacrifice her life and pretty much commit suicide. I think, who said it? Somebody said it in one of the earlier seasons. If you do this, this is a doctor? No. It was I can't remember now. That's going to bug me too.
Yeah.
But somebody said, if you do this, that's committing suicide. Oh, yes, it was the doctor. When she was in the hospital, when she cut her hand after she attacked Serena with the scalpel, he said, if you do what you're planning, this is suicide. How long have you felt suicidal thoughts? Because that's what it is.
Right.
And I mean, because June was at that point where she would rather die than go back to being a handmaid.
Right.
And now it sounds like Janine's there. So maybe Janine will be the new June in Gilead, and that's how they give us the Gilead play-by-play.
I think so. I think unfortunately, eventually Janine's going to die somehow. I feel like she's such a beloved character that they're just not going to keep her around. So I think she's going to last there for a while, but I do think it's going to be different somehow. Like, she's going to, because Aunt Lydia's a little weaker.
Yeah, Aunt Lydia's losing her control.
Yes. And Janine's a little stronger. I think there's going to be a whole dynamic there. But I do think Janine's going to succumb to Gilead somehow, for sure. I think she's going to be able to persevere in some ways as well, because I think that's what that whole scene and like the milk container in the train is, this kind of battle between themselves. Like, June, you're strong, but you're also weak. And Janine, you're weak, but you're also strong. And where you need me, I'm here. And where I need you, you're here. It's just June never realized that Janine did have the capability of being there for her.
So before I point this out, let me look out. Let me make sure I know what her name is, so I'm not confused. I love IMDb. It helps in a pinch. Season 4. Thank you. Progress. It might not show it up. I'm looking for the little commander girl's name.
Is it like Kelsey or something like that? Kelly? I don't know.
Okay, this is
the wife that they turned into.
Yeah, next time I do my little setup, I'm gonna make my husband. He's got 2 computer screens. I've got one right here and one right here. Awesome. I can reach this one, but when I use his mouse, it's over here, and I can't see it because of my laptop. So I can't use his computer to look stuff up.
Gotcha.
Gosh, what is her name? And the actress that they got to play her, she was in Young Sheldon.
Okay.
She played the smarty pants girl in Young Sheldon. And she's played a couple other things.
Episodes of that.
And she is, for her age, she's a really strong actor. It was just so hard to see her. Such a young girl, smoking, talking about killing, talking about going through all this.
Yeah,
that to me was harder.
Disturbing.
Yeah, that was more disturbing than anything June or Emily or Janine has been through. What is your name?
It's like she lost her.
Esther Keys.
Yes, that's right. Of course, it would be a more biblical name. That makes sense.
And she was in.
So, do you think she's gonna be the new June, so to speak, and Janine's gonna?
No, I think Janine is going to be the new June. And you're right. She's going to die pretty soon.
I think so.
If not at the end of 4, because there's only 2 episodes left, then some point
already. I feel like it just started last week.
Before 5 is halfway through, she'll probably be gone. And then I think Esther will be the new June, but with a vengeance, because she was already cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs a little bit, wanting to impress June. Remember? Right. Yes. She was wanting to impress June. She was excited to meet June. She was excited to help. And she wanted to be taken under her wing. I mean, she crawled into bed after they killed that guy.
Yeah.
Or she killed that guy.
I know. So, that was a little weird to me. I didn't know what was about that.
And then she called her Hannah. Remember when she crawled in bed? Yeah, she crawled in bed and she called her Hannah.
I didn't catch that. How do I not catch that? Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to team up, because June's going back to Gilead somehow. I think she's going to recon her way in and do some stuff. And
Canada's not going to allow it until the trial.
Yeah.
Now, once the trial starts and Fred weasels his way.
Yeah.
Now that he's got supporters, I mean, that's the best way to go.
So weird.
First of all, if you want to support them, you want to cheer, go to Gilead. This is not the place.
I know, right?
You know, if you're all for it, please, you can have a one-way ticket to Gilead.
Yeah, I think they'll welcome you there.
Yeah. But I think June will not, because I think she still has a guard. Remember, she had a guard at the library following her around because she's a high profile witness. So I don't think she'll even have the opportunity to sneak back to Gilead until after this trial. Because I think they're going to have such a close eye on her.
Probably. And now, especially, like you said, if there are supporters, they've got to be watching her too. Because if they're supporting Serena and Fred, they're going to want to go after June, maybe in the grocery store when they see her. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. But, okay. So what are your thoughts on Nick? We'll talk about this for a few more minutes. I want to hear it. And then I need to go to bed. But,
Nick. Okay. I have mixed feelings about Nick.
What do you think about him? And then what the heck do you think is going to happen in the next episode? Like, where are they meeting? Are they in Canada? Are they in Gilead? Like, where are they?
Okay, so I've been racking my brain about that. I don't know where they're meeting. And I don't even know.
Like that house where she and all the handmaids were staying, like where Esther was. It almost
that house was all white.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay. This was like red brick. And it was like literally you saw it for like 3 seconds. But
yeah.
I really think he's genuine. He really does love her. He really is looking out for her. But at a certain point, you could tell
he's looking out for her. I don't think he's looking out for her.
He was. He was, trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. Nothing bad will happen to you if you trust me. Do what they say. Nothing bad will happen to you. How many times did he say that to her throughout the seasons? But now he's aggravated. Now he's in a position of power. He's a commander. And he's in charge.
In that position for a little while now.
A little while, but he's gotten more and more power, especially now that Fred's not there. And everybody on that council stepped up, basically.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's got a little bit more power. Now, he wasn't okay with the idea of the bombing.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
So the only thing I can hope for is that bombing is what teeters him into, okay, I need to help Gilead. I mean, I need to help go after Gilead. Right. Like, obviously, Gilead does not care about people. I need to start leaking information. I need to start doing what I can to help bring it down some. And maybe if I do enough work, I won't get punished for it.
I don't think he's that noble.
I don't think he is entirely on his own, but he listens to June. He listens to June. June's got him wrapped around her finger, especially because of Nicole.
Yeah, but he's still, I mean, yes, I understand he's like done some things, but has he done enough? Like, I don't understand as a commander why he couldn't have stuck her in the car one night and they just drove to Canada, picked up Hannah on the way and drove to Canada. I don't get that.
Well, if you remember when Lawrence tried to leave and take his wife to go meet the car to get her out to Canada before the kids, remember you have to have certain clearances to get past certain checkpoints.
Right.
He doesn't have that.
He used to be the driver for Fred, and wasn't Fred pretty big up there? So you would think going from the driver,
Fred was really big. Fred and Serena were really big, but when his first handmaid committed suicide, that brought him down a notch. When June moved in, that brought him down. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when he was talking to, the only way I can remember him is the Law and Order guy. The commander.
I know that's the only way that I remember.
When he was with him, there was those comments made. You've lost so much power, and you don't have as much input because you can't control your house. You need to get control of your house before you can control things again. Remember that he was saying stuff like that.
I actually remember something.
Yay! So slowly, Fred lost power because of June. June help, at least June did something by taking some power away, but I think June will be able to manipulate him to at least get some information to help put Fred and Serena. I think Nick's going to help nail them.
I think he'll do that for her. I don't
for
think
her.
he would do that on his own. And I don't think he'll do anything more than that. I think he's a little punk weasel.
Well, because his options are do that and make sure they go to jail and make sure they don't try to go after Nicole.
I don't think he really cares about Nicole.
You don't think so?
I don't know why. I just don't. I don't get that father.
It's hard to read Nick. It really is. He's
Yeah.
gotten really good at just being very stoic.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't, I don't like him. And that's something too that I think it was on Reddit perhaps that someone had posted, like, I don't get the big deal about Nick and why everybody likes him. I'm like, thank you. Finally. I feel like if I try to talk about that, everyone's like, how can you not?
I liked him when he was the driver.
Yeah. When they first started interacting. I don't even want to say dating.
Canoodling. I liked him then. I really did. Because he really, you could tell he really was a guy trying to figure out how to be in this world.
Right.
But then you found out he was doing more and more shady shit he was actually there spying on Fred for another commander. And he was moving up the ranks.
And that he had a more devious evil past than we just thought he was like innocent. I had to be a driver. I got picked for this.
Right. The only thing that I've still have not been able to wrap my head around. Okay, I understand he was quote unquote in love with June because June was pregnant with his kid.
Yeah.
But what he did to his wife, even though she was forced upon him, he didn't get to pick her. He didn't get to meet her until right then. I really felt bad for her. She was so young, and all she knew was Gilead, basically. And she was so young, and here she is married to this guy who's not showing her any affection. She's trying.
But that was like a child.
He wanted somebody his age. I understand that. And he had a pregnant girlfriend, basically. But at the same time, if he knew he was going to be moving up the ranks, why didn't he at least act the way Gilead would want him to act? Because she could
have outside of the home. Yeah.
She could have blabbed her mouth about the letters. Remember, she found the letters, the handmaid letters.
Yeah.
If he would have just shown her a little bit more kindness,
right,
and a little bit more attention, you don't have to.
I think do certain things. Squeezed out by the whole situation.
Maybe. I mean, I kind of would be too. Don't get me wrong, because I mean,
yeah. What if you were brought like a 12, 13-year-old boy and was like, "Hey, there's your husband." Like,
yeah, like. But at the same time, like, it was partly his fault that she ran off, and then she wholeheartedly, with gusto, went to her death for it.
Yeah.
And you felt bad for her because it really wasn't her fault.
Oh, yeah. And especially with her parents up there and
her sister.
So disturbing.
And her parents were the one who turned her in.
I know.
Remember?
Wasn't it her dad?
Yeah, it was her dad.
So disturbing. Everything is so disturbing.
I mean, I would have, the best thing he could have done if he would have just shown her more attention. You didn't have to have sex with her. I mean, granted, he had to, because she was starting to say, I think he likes men because he won't have sex with me. So he kind of had to. But if he would have shown her a little bit more kindness and a little bit more attention, he could have at least kept her on the sideline. And when she got older,
right,
and more wifey and
bought some more time,
right, and then, oh, here I am as a commander with a respectable wife who's been raised in Gilead. He might have had more power.
That is true. I mean, it is all around a messed up situation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still kind of surprised. I really thought before they announced that they were signed on for a 5th season, I thought this was going to be the last season. Not that I had heard that or anything. I just didn't understand how they could keep it going in a good way. And I just hope so badly that
it doesn't turn into Grey's Anatomy.
crash and burn. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my goodness, we are.
please don't rush this or not rush it. Like, when you feel the time is right, just stop it. We'll all be sad, but it's got to end when it's supposed to end, you know?
My biggest pet peeve, though, is being almost through, being at this point of a season, basically. You have like 3 or 4 episodes planned out.
Yeah.
And you find out, oh, well, the network's not going to pick us up. We're done. And then you have to scramble to try to find a way to end.
Yeah, that would be a lot worse.
I hate that. Because that's when you get the crappiest endings.
Absolutely.
Like Lost. Like,
yeah.
You had to watch Lost if you're into the mind things.
I know the ending of it. I watched the first couple episodes, and that was back in the day when there wasn't like at least
streaming service.
Yeah. So it was whatever all the family wanted to watch that night or not. So I saw maybe a couple episodes, and I do know how it ended. And yeah, I enjoyed that show, but had I watched all of it and that was the ending, I would have been pissed.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
Because at the time,
everyone was.
I went to Blockbuster and rented all the seasons. That's how I watched it. I spent so much money to watch all these seasons for you to put that kind of ending. I was so mad. I was like, no.
It was horrible.
No. Like,
that's kind of how I feel with this. Like, don't mess this up, people.
I'm hoping with them signing on for a 5th season, they might take a step back and be like, okay, we can't really drag this out. So maybe if we know this is going to be our last season ahead of time, we can possibly make this worthwhile. And just like I talked about
before, for it to be their last season,
like they can do a lot of time jumping, like, and they can do time jump from the 4th season to the 5th season.
Right. I think so. Just in even these last episodes.
Don't do a jump and not show me the trial.
Yeah.
I need the trial. I need to see the trial.
Yep.
Because I'm hoping maybe since
that's probably going to be the cliffhanger, what their verdict is going to be. I bet
maybe since Moira and Emily had that idea of, oh, let's get the aunt to testify.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're going to spend the next few little episodes like, let's try to see who we can get.
Maybe Aunt Lydia is going to come in and testify.
Oh no,
that would be a shocker.
She's gonna stay in Gilead, and I hope Janine's the one that kills her. I hope she dies by Janine's hand, but I think she's
more tormenting and horrible for Aunt Lydia than it would be if June, because she loves Janine.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, out of Janine and Aunt Lydia, one of them's gonna kill each other.
Yeah.
If it's not Aunt Lydia killing
Janine,
it's going to be Janine killing Aunt Lydia.
Yeah, I don't think Aunt Lydia is going to kill Janine.
She generally has some kind of feelings for her.
Yeah, I think she feels for her like a daughter. Yeah, it's insane.
Which is crazy because, like, how can you be such a manipulating, controlling
what she's doing is right. So if you think what you're doing is right, then you don't see it as wrong. I mean, that sounds so simplistic, but it's kind of just that easy. If you think what you're doing is right and just and honorable and what a higher being wants or whatever, then you're not gonna see it as wrong. I know, it's messed up.
I just can't look. Now we gotta wait till next week.
I know.
For next episode, and it's just killing me. Like, there's so much things to think about. And like, I spend all week, like I spend the end of the week like looking up like theories and what people think is going to happen next, because I'm like, I need some kind of fix. It's like crack. Like, I need to know what other people are thinking.
I've done things on like the read about the symbolism. I wanted more of the actual TV series, but I have a video on the symbolism of the Handmaid's Tale, and I got a lot of my information from a professor. She has a British accent, so I'm assuming she's in England, but you can tell she posted these as like presentation lectures for her class. It's like I'm taking a class on the symbolism for Handmaid's Tale. There are so many things in there that I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because I've taken a couple college level courses for English, but this seemed to be starting to get into actual English major. So like when you were talking about before the handmaids walking in twos and things like that, there's a whole doubles motif that they have throughout the book, and also you can see it in the show. And again, I did a video on the symbolism, but I also did a video just specifically on the scene where June and Janine are in the milk tank and how they're basically each other's double. So it's almost like they're having a conversation with.
It's like that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yes.
Type deal.
Absolutely.
Because Janine, at the beginning, Janine was all like, oh, us, oh, me, oh, you. Like, why did you do this? Why did you tell them where we are? And then by the end of it, Janine was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. Like,
yes.
So, first of all, they were lucky. Let's talk about that real quick. They were lucky. First of all, it was dark. How did you know that was milk?
Where did the milk go? That's what I want to know.
She let it out. Remember she found this.
But where did it go? Like, how did someone not see milk squirting?
Because it was at night.
Ugh.
On a railroad track. That's the only thing I can think of.
But yeah, I don't know.
Because like,
first of all, someone had to notice.
A, someone had to notice. B, that they had to stink horribly the next day in the sun.
Sour,
riding in the back of that car. I don't know how people were not just.
Yeah.
And how did they didn't take? I don't think they took a shower. I think they just changed clothes.
Yeah.
And then Janine went and did what she did. Like, I was gagging.
I didn't even think of all that, especially after being with him and being in the milk and yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, see.
Yeah. That's probably one of the major issues I would have if I ever had to be in a war type environment.
But they were so lucky. How did you? To me, I thought it looked like it was gas. It looked like a gas tank.
Yeah.
How did you know it was milk? You couldn't have smelled it.
I don't think she did know. I think she just jumped. I don't think she knew what was in there at all. I think she
got lucky. She's got lucky.
This is all I've got.
She's gotten lucky quite a few times.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
So fun. I'm so glad I've met other people who like the show as much as
I can do it a little earlier too if you need to. Now that I'm set up.
I might. This is a good time sometimes for me as well because it's after my kids
your
gone to bed. Even though my husband's here, it's like if they hear me, they'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" You know.
Yeah.
Like I need to make sure they're asleep, so they just leave me alone.
But now that I got all this set up, we're good. We can do this.
Cool. We may have to do like other things, especially if you. I'd love to hear you talk about what you know about World War II.
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff too. Not only it's interesting. I think we should know history and also
see I'm a history buff. Every night like when I go to wind down, I'm watching documentaries. Right now I'm on a Egyptian kick.
Yeah.
Pharaohs. Especially right now, I'm very fascinated with new forensic technology finding like
that would be cool.
Yeah, like they found a Queen Pharaoh. I can't say her name right, but they found her. They were able to identify her from a tooth.
Wow.
And they were able to do forensics on her and her bloodline and show things. And now forensics is able to show, because it was always brother and sister or stepbrother, stepsister, they were able
Right.
to show what was actually killing these people, because
There's
there
genetics.
was so much inbreeding that they're able to look at the bones and tell that it's a pharaoh, even though they were like hiding the mummies because
Yes.
people were like stealing them and stuff.
Stealing. Yeah.
But because of the overbite that they got, and they were able to understand that King Tut was so sickly because of all the inbreeding. He had bad bones. He had like hypoplasia and like all these different things, and they're able to use new forensics and start looking at all this stuff. And I go to sleep every night watching it all. That's my little kick right now. But
Awesome.
yeah, we'll get up together and we'll start doing different podcasts, I guess, like live things. So
it'll be fun.
Yeah. All right.
It seems like we have a lot of common interests, or just the fact that, I mean, you seem like you like learning. I like learning. I could just soak it all up.
Did you ever watch Band of Brothers? That's a World War II miniseries.
No, I can't take watching
the war
stuff
and
like that. I can't take it. I don't know how my husband does, because he's been in war. I can read about it. I can't watch it. Now, I can watch a documentary about something, but the fictional reenactments or just fictional, I don't know. I just can't watch war scenes. It gets me.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple of good wartime movies that don't have the fighting in it, like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Okay.
If you ever watch it, you will lose it. You will cry.
Yeah.
Anybody, I mean, grown men cry when they watch this movie.
Right.
It's so sad. And there's a couple other movies that like show you the bad part of World War II without showing you the fighting and stuff.
Right.
So we'll get into it. We'll make a list of everything and poll the audience and see what they all want us to talk about.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.